Welcome in to the Roll Tide Rewind. We are here to break down some Indiana offensive film. Alabama plays Indiana in just a couple of days on January 1st in the Rose Bowl, and the winner will get a chance to move on to the semifinals of the college football playoff. Well, recently, Alabama, not recently, like over 10 days ago, Alabama was able to win their first round matchup against Oklahoma, and now they're in this position to play Indiana. And when you look at Indiana, we're going to look at their offense today. We'll look at their defense tomorrow, but looking at their offense today, what's special about Indiana? Well, they have the Heisman Trophy winner. They have Fernando Mendoza. So Fernando Mendoza this year, 71.5% completion percentage, top 10 in the country, 2,980 yards, not like necessarily flashy for a Heisman winner, but offensive numbers this year were down. That may be due to the clock, but also Fernando didn't play some every second half of the season because of just them dominating every game. 33 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions for Indiana's offense total. They led the Big Ten in yards per game, rushing yards per game, which we'll talk about, points per game. They were 5th in passing yards per game, and they were the best third down offense, I think, in the country. They're able to continue drives when they need to, but also Fernando has been, just super clutch. He's been super sharp. And even you see on this play here, this is the play of the year for Indiana to Amari Cooper in the back of the end zone, but he's able to defend pressure and able to make that throw. But for Alabama's defense, Fernando Mendoza is definitely the best quarterback Alabama has played this year. Alabama's played some, pretty okay quarterbacks. They played, Joey Aguilar probably, I don't know, is he the best one? Is it Gunnar Stockton? Is it John Mateer? I don't think it's John Mateer by any means. I think it's probably going to be Joey Aguilar. So this is a very much high upgrade in quarterback competition. Mendoza's the best. He's been the best this year. I remember we were debating it, during the year. Is it Ty Simpson or is it Fernando Mendoza? And then as Ty had his November where everything kind of went down, Fernando only rose up. And Fernando's probably going to be really tough to get Fernando. We'll go over later in the video how Alabama can probably confuse Indiana and how we can probably take advantage of some flaws that maybe haven't gotten taken advantage of yet. But Indiana's a really good football team. They're a 6.5-point favorite for a reason. They opened as a 7.5-point favorite. I think the only time Alabama's been above a 6.5-point underdog was in the past, almost 17, 18 years, was against Florida in 2008. Tim Tebow led Florida in 2008. I think Alabama was a 10-point underdog in that game when the line opened. So this is very much high praise for this Indiana football team. And, just maybe I don't think necessarily like it's a shot out against Alabama. It's more so just a testament to how good Indiana is. And you see in these clips with Fernando how sharp he is in making passes. But we'll move into this little segment right here. Fernando also can run the ball. He's 240 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns, and out of their 13 games, 7 of them, he had a 10-yard rush, at least 10 or more. He sacked 18 times, which I think 10 of those came in just 3 games, and we'll go over those 3 games as well, how pressure has maybe confused him a little bit. But he can run. It's one thing that it's kind of the same thing with Ty Simpson, how every game they have to mention that, he's a dual-threat quarterback out of high school, and then everybody kind of goes, what? Crazy. Well, it's the same thing with Fernando. You just assume that he only can throw the ball, but he has the ability to scramble out, as you see here on this play, and run the ball and able to make moves and get into the end zone. Fernando is like a thrower first, but as you can see here against Oregon on this play right here, there's no spy. There's no, trust in that he's going to run the ball. They just think, yeah, he's a thrower. We're not worried about him running the ball, and Indiana takes advantage of it, ends up scoring a touchdown a few plays later. So just a little tidbit. Fernando can run the ball. If he starts running the ball, don't just think that Alabama's defense is, just not trying or anything. Sometimes they just, with this offense, Fernando's a pass first guy. So you're going to take full advantage of that while also hoping your lineman can get home with 4, which we'll go over later as well. But one thing about Fernando's game, he can run the ball. This is a thing that you've been able to watch Indiana this year. He's able to make plays of his legs. Like I said, 7 out of 13 games, he was able to have at least a 10-yard rush. So, and then also the 6 touchdowns, like I mentioned. We'll move into their running backs. This is kind of, if Indiana wins the football game, this is probably where they win the football game. They have two really good running backs. Roman Himdy, as you see right there, 918 yards this year, 6 touchdowns, 5.2 yards per attempt. And then they also have Kalen Black. And Roman Himby's a 5th-year guy. Kalen Black is a 6th-year guy, very much experience. 799 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per average. Those are the two main guys they're going to use. They also have a good third running back, Kobe Martin, 70 carries, 6.5 yards per attempt, but he's only used when the games are out of reach. He didn't play in the Ohio State game. He's not going to be one they're going to use in this game, most likely, unless it's a very much Indiana blowout, which we hope that doesn't happen. But they have two really good running backs. They are not used much in the passing game. Himby has 14 catches. Black has 3 catches this year, so Himby is basically getting 1 catch a game. And then Black has only gotten 3 catches all year. So I don't think it's to assume that the running backs can't catch the ball or they don't trust them catching the ball, but it's just not a point of the offense that they really feel like they've either, one, had to use well, or B, they just don't need to use them because we'll go over their receiving core, and they have a lot of receivers they trust. But Himby and Black both have their own, tools of power and speed. You can see Himby on this first carry against Purdue, gets the stiff arm, and he's able to outrun 4 Purdue defenders there. And then he also has power, as you can see here, meets the Oregon defender in the hole, falls into the end zone for a touchdown. And then against Maryland here, follows his blocks. He's a very patient running back, which is always a good thing to see out of these running backs, not hitting the holes way too fast, that they're being patient with their blockers. And then you also have Kalen Black. He's a very shifty guy. He reminds me a lot of Josh Jacobs, not because he wore number 8. That probably has a lot to do with it now that I think about it. But he's very shifty. He's very gadgety almost in a way as he hits the holes, and he's got power to him. Against here you can see against Penn State, able to carry multiple defenders on a 3rd and 6 to get the first down. So this is showing that Indiana, in 3rd down and 5 or more situations, they do trust to hand the ball to the running back. So against most teams where it's 3rd and 5, you're probably looking at a pass. Indiana trusts their running backs to make the play. So they have a lot of tools they can use on 3rd downs and also just in their offense in general. We'll go into the receiver core. Omar Cooper is their leading receiver, 58 catches, 804 yards, 11 touchdowns, 13.9 yards per attempt. He had a 207-yard performance and 4 touchdowns against Indiana State this year. And they love doing the screen game with Omar Cooper. I don't have the clip in here of like a screen or anything, but in the clips I've watched of some of these games, they love to get him on short routes and let him work. But you can see here against Purdue, able to catch the ball and just make moves to get all the way to the end zone. This is an incredible play by Omar Cooper. And then the game-winning play against Penn State, his using his acrobats to make a really, really nice catch. And he's an incredible player, but he's just one of many that they have. We'll go into the next one, Elijah Surratt. He's probably, I guess I would say, their most trusted receiver. He doesn't have as many catches as Omar Cooper, but 51 catches, 687 yards, 12 touchdowns, leads the team with 12 touchdowns, 13.5 yards per attempt. But you can see here just the trust they have in to win the 50-50 balls. And also his route running is very incredible. He had 156 yards and a touchdown versus Iowa. He also had 8 catches for 121 yards against Oregon. He's very much a trusted player and one that Alabama is probably going to have to limit in this game, more so than any probably other threat that they have. But one receiver that's also taken a stride very late in the year is Charlie Becker. He had 6 catches, 126 yards against Ohio State. Also had a really good game against Penn State, 7 catches for 118 yards. See this really good catch right there against Penn State. But he's probably the hottest player they have right now. Only 26 catches, but most of the catches have come in November in the latter part of the year. 26 catches, 515 yards, 2 touchdowns, averages 19.8 yards per catch, which is top 10 in the country. So Alabama's going to have to limit him as well. Like I said, there's a lot of good players here. Charlie Becker is the one that's just gotten hot late in the year. You also have a good receiver in E.J. Williams, who's able, on this play, Fernando's able to make a good play outside the pocket. But if you watch E.J. Williams, he's going to be right here. He's able to see his quarterback's in trouble and gets the defender fall down, and he's wide open. Route running is elite with E.J. Williams. He's also an Alabama native. He has 34 catches, 416 yards, 5 touchdowns. Very much like an Isaiah Horton. He's 6'4". He's tall. He's able to he's able to do very, very well. So it's another receiver they have that they can use. So one to watch out for Alabama. And then their last target we want to go over is their tight end, Riley Nowakowski, excuse me. Very good tight end, 25 catches, 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12.6 yards per catch. He averages around 1 to 4 catches a game. He's had a few good games where he's able to win with blocking, which with him, that's really his best point for him when NFL draft experts are looking at Riley. He's a really good blocker, but also can provide in the passing game. Like I said, 1 to 4 catches, but also maybe those 2 catches are touchdowns, like the screenplay against Illinois here. Everybody pops up, and that's a very, very easy play for Indiana to make. So this is their receiving core. They are very, very good at their receiving core. They have a lot of weapons they can use and a lot of weapons they trust. If I had to say one that you probably want to limit, it's probably going to be Elijah Surratt. Elijah Surratt is a big-time player. He had a touchdown against Ohio State. Becker also is just a guy that's gotten hot recently. And even with E.J. Williams, he had, 5 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns versus UCLA. So another big play guy who could just, randomly appear in a game. So these are the guys Alabama's going to watch for. Now, Alabama's secondary is one of the best in the country, 168.4 yards per game allowed in the passing game, which is the best in the SEC. They also 17.9 points per game is the third in the SEC for points per game allowed. But the rushing game is where Indiana probably wants to get you, and it's Alabama averages allowed 120.6 rushing yards per game, which is 8th in the SEC, but it's still not a bad rushing defense at all. So we're going to go into this next part here. What gave Indiana trouble? We're going to look at 3 games here. We're going to look at Wisconsin, Iowa, and Penn State. So we're not going to look at the Ohio State game. Even though they only scored 13 points, we won't look at that game because how Ohio State affected them was similar to how Penn State and Iowa affected them. So we won't look at that game, but we'll look at the Wisconsin game. Now, you may be asking, Indiana won the game 31-7. What's the big deal? Wisconsin got to Indiana 5 times. They sacked him 5 times. They sacked Fernando 5 times. So we're going to look at this first one here. It's a simple rollout to the right. You're looking to maybe hit a corner, an out route, or maybe the go route up top. But Wisconsin's linebacker is able to hit that gap hard and is able to make a play here. And the play is kind of different from the get-go. A lot of it has to do with coverage. You can see up top, the zone coverage is passed off pretty well by the defenders. Right there, it's a pass off. You see the corner route is going to be a really hard throw to make over this guy, and then the go route is covered. So from the get-go, it's not good and is able to make the play. This is how Justin Jefferson, Deontay Lawson, this is where they're going to come in handy in these filling in the gap and making the play. What also Wisconsin did well is they were able to get home with 4 or 3-man rushers a lot. So in this play right here, they're only rushing 4, and Indiana even has a jumbo package to help block. They keep a tight end in. They also keep the running back in, and it still doesn't matter. Wisconsin's able to cause disruption. And then even on this play here, this is a different play. They run a simple concept here, simple stunt. 1 defender goes in, 1 defender goes out, kind of does confuse the tackle and the running back, and Wisconsin's able to make the play. Alabama has run a similar stunts in the past. They also run the stunt this year with London Simmons. You see right here in the middle, London Simmons is able to run the stunt really, really well against Wisconsin, funny enough, and is able to make the play. But Alabama has gotten a lot of pressure this year in just, 4-man rushes, which they haven't gotten home a lot of the time, but pressure is there to force the quarterback to have to make a throw. It's going to be a big deal to have LT Overton back in this game. LT Overton has 4 sacks this year, but he's one of our best pressure defensive ends. And right here, Yanze Pierre is going to be a big-time player, 6.5 sacks this year. Quay Rusal is back playing. But yeah, the pressure with 4 guys is going to be very critical in this game because we can't blitz every single play. We'll go over blitzing in a little bit, but Keon Keeley's also come along as well. But blitzing, winning with 4 is going to be very, very key, especially in this game with Indiana. Say we're able to stop them running the ball. How are we going to, make them fear having to pass the ball? So it's going to be key to see. And even with Iowa was able to win with 4 times, as you see on this play. But Iowa was able to win a lot with blitzing, causing Fernando to panic a lot of the times. But blitz a linebacker here, really bad throw, almost intercepted. But you can see here from just the start of the play, when we get to the start of the play, linebacker starts to walk up as the snap is about to happen. So it's very late protection change where it's like we have to account for this guy and he's going to come free. And the running back is able to chip him, but it's going to be the little chip is not going to do it there. But the late blitz was able to confuse Indiana's offense just a tad bit that threw off the play on a 2nd and 4, which now turns into a 3rd and medium instead of if that pass is complete to Elijah Surratt because he's open, he's right there. It's just the ball does get overthrown a little bit and almost intercepted. And even on the next play, 3rd and 4, Iowa is able to blitz again, kind of a little late blitz, but they're able to get to Mendoza and cause him to fumble the ball, which he's able to recover. But it's the same thing here of the blitz doesn't come up until a little bit late. Whoops. There we go. Blitz isn't able to come until a little bit late. They're able to account for it 5v5, but a 5-on-5 pass rush is a hard one to do. So they're just going to get home. But you can see on these plays, Indiana has receivers open. Elijah Surratt's open again. But because the pass rush was so effective, the plays it didn't seem to matter. And you can even see here on this next play, I was able to win the rush on a delayed blitz, and E.J. Williams is open across the middle of the field, and it's a miss. Like it's a 2nd and 7 that would probably turn into a first down, maybe a little 3rd and short. But that's the difference of making Indiana have to win the 3rd and longs, which they have. Like I said, they're one of the best 3rd down offenses in the country. But if 3rd and 7 obviously is going to be much more doable than a 3rd and 1. But with pressuring, Alabama does pressure a lot with their linebacker, especially Justin Jefferson, as you can see here against Diego Pavia. But Alabama's going to have to win these pressures too, where they have to win, the 4-man rushes. They're going to have to also win the 4-man rushes when they blitz a linebacker or do a different type of stunt, which they've been able to do pretty good this year. It's able to confuse the offensive line enough to where other guys become unaccounted for, like Yanze Pierre, like Keon Keeley, like LT Overton, London Simmons, but also Justin Jefferson is a very, very physical linebacker. Like the sack here on the Norris Sellers. And Norris Sellers is one of the more physical quarterbacks in football. So it's a very good play. He's not, obviously Fernando Mendoza is not as physical as Lenore Sellers or John Mateer is, but Alabama's going to have to win these stunts to confuse him because, with these type of plays, as we can see on this next tape, this safety blitz, kind of an all-out pressure forces Mendoza to make a really bad play. This is where Alabama needs to take advantage. Just blitzing can lead to turnovers like this. And you can see here, even with the clock, there were 7 seconds to snap. Fernando could have audibled, but they were confident in the play that they had, and they brought a late safety blitz and was able to confuse him enough, not necessarily confuse him, able to make him have to make a fast read, a fast play before sack happens, and ends up being a bad throw. And this was at 2:52 left in the game. This could have been a game-losing play. Now, Indiana was able to drive down the field in the next drive and score a go-ahead touchdown to win the game, but that could have been a losing play if Iowa, had a competent offense. They would have wasted all the time, but Iowa never has that, it seems. It's always escaped them. But you can see with turnovers how key they are, pressure to lead to turnovers, how key it is. You can see here in the South Carolina game, pressure got to Norris Sellers early. He had to throw it away to the running back who bobbles it, and it goes right to Deshaun Jones for a pick six. So pressure is going to be key in this game. Pressure is going to be what can win Alabama this football game. And also run defense. We'll go into run defense shortly. Iowa was able to do good stuffing the run, which Indiana as a rushing offense in this game did do pretty well. They had like over 150 rushing yards. When you look it up, it'll say they only had like 110, but Indiana on the last play of the game, they're at the 40-yard line to run out the clock. They just caught the ball, ran 40 yards backwards to ice the game. So I'm going to count it as 150. But on these 3rd and shorts, Iowa was able to win. They were able to win pretty handily. You saw they had multiple defenders in the backfield. It wasn't just like it was a one-man miss. They had multiple guys that could have got the running back. So I was very impressed with Iowa when I watched this game. They were able to win these short-yarded situations, which is what Alabama's going to need to do. And they've shown this year that they can. They were able to win a lot of times against Georgia. This is a 3rd and goal against Georgia that forces a 4th and goal, which Georgia was able to get a penalty on, end up scoring a touchdown on the second and goal. But this was probably one of the biggest plays of the year for Alabama right here by LT Overton. Was able to, on a 4th and 1, 13 minutes left, and Georgia only got the ball back one time, and Alabama ended up winning the football game. But time and time again this year, Alabama has stepped up on 3rd and short defensively, which is what they're going to have to do against Indiana, force them into 4th and shorts, force them into, punting situations. And even right here against Tennessee, this 1st and goal sets up a 2nd and goal, which for Alabama fans that remember, the next play was the 99-yard pick six by Zambian Brown. But time and time and again, Alabama's defense has won short yardage situations. And that's what they're going to have to, like I said, they're going to have to do on January 1st if they're going to be successful, because Indiana, like I said, is a great 3rd down offense. They're great at continuing drives and wasting a lot of time so the offense can't be on the field. So that's going to be a key to this game. And you see here against Penn State, it's kind of the same with the pass rush. Penn State was able to get to them 3 times. They actually allowed Indiana only 108 rushing yards, which was their season low. They had 7 carries for 1 yard or less, which is also a season low. 3.5 yards per attempt, also season low. But Indiana was able to stay in this game because they were 5 of 12 on 3rd down, which is a little under 50%, but it's what would needed Indiana to continue in this game. It's what was needed. The clips I'm showing you here are a pressure clips, that's similar to what Iowa was able to do and what Penn State was able to do. But one thing Penn State was able to do, they forced turnover. Same thing with Iowa. Kind of a similar game for Indiana. But this is what Alabama's going to have to do, and we're going to show 2 clips at the end here. Fernando Mendoza, like I said, is a really good quarterback, and you're going to see here on these plays where pressure is there. Indiana's able to do a good job on this play, protecting him, but Charlie Becker was able to go deep, make a really big play. So when one-on-ones happen and Fernando has time, and even in games where he's pressured a lot, this is what he's able to do. And then similar here, we showed this play earlier, but even if pressure gets there, Fernando's shown that he can make plays, or at least get his ball to his receiver to make plays. This is going to be a big thing for our defenders, our safeties, our corners like Dijon Lee, Bray Hubbard, Keon Sabb, Zabian Brown. Are you going to be able to knock this ball out? Are you going to be able to catch the ball, but turn this into a turnover play? So it's going to be key for Alabama. The big keys, obviously, are you have to win the short yardage situations with them running the ball. I think Indiana's going to be able to run the ball pretty okay. I'm not saying they're going to run for 500 yards, but I think they're going to probably get over 100 yards rushing. That's just what they've done all year. But are you going to win the 3rd and 1s, the 4th and 1s to stop their drives or get your offense on the field? And also, how are you going to pressure Fernando Mendoza? How are you going to confuse him? How are you going to make him panic? Because he has good receivers. It's just going to be more so how's the pass rush and how is the short yardage situations going to do. A lot of this game is on the front 7. How is Alabama's front 7 going to respond in this game? So that is our Indiana offensive film review. Be sure to check out the defensive film review, which will be here tomorrow. We are close to 700 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We're at 691, I believe. So if you like what you see, please feel free to give us a subscription. We're almost to 700. That would be very awesome to see right before as the new year starts. But until then, hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and roll Tide.